Hey everybody, it's Linda. I wanted to talk to you today about fairy tales because I realize there's people that don't understand timelines and storylines and things like that. So I want to give you the perfect example of how to explain a timeline or a storyline to somebody. And I think in analogies. And I know some of you guys absolutely love my analogies, and you've said it before. So I had the perfect one for what a timeline and a storyline would be. So think of a storyline like a fairy tale. And the thing is, we know there's multiple ones going on. Well, think of a fairy tale in different versions. So think of like a book, and how does a fairy tale start? It starts out with once upon a time, right? I mean, we pretty much can all agree on that. And then how does it end? It always ends with and we lived happily ever after, right? So it has the same beginning, has the same end, and depending on who wrote the book, it depends on what version of the book or the storyline is being told. So if you have people that are awake versus people that are asleep, you have somebody who's telling the story versus somebody who's listening to the story. And a lot of times, I'll say more often than not, the person who's telling the story is the adult, and the person listening to the story is the child, right? Makes sense? If you have a person who is awake, aware, and free thought, they had the story told to them when they were younger. They've read the story many times themselves. They know the story by heart, but they decide, I'm going to tell the story my way. I have a better idea of how this goes. So they tell the story. They have better details, and they make it more interesting, and they just free wheel from the hip, tell the story, and I don't want to say embellish, but they give monster details of I don't know why I said monster, but maybe there's monsters in the story, and or they add monsters in. I don't know. Maybe from personal experience, they can embellish the story to make it more interesting for the child, but it still has the same ending. And the princess is rescued, or the good guys win and the bad guys lose, and then we lived happily ever after. So the person who is not reading from a dictated narrative is the freed thinker. The person who is on your timeline in your life, the timeline that you're choosing to create it. You still had the same beginning, which is you were born from a human being. You came from the womb. And thank you, Alexia, for that analogy, for that one. You know what I'm talking about. And you were born from the womb, and then you lived happily ever after at the end. But you're creating your storyline. You've heard the narratives. You've heard what's being told to you of how it's supposed to go. And you're choosing to be the free thinker and create your own details in your life, your own storyline. But the destiny points are when you were born, and the destiny points is when you get to a point where the whole collective arrives and we live happily ever after. So that's a destiny point. In between is where your free will of what you create. You can create the details. You can create whether you watch this video to the end or not. You can create whether you share this video or whether you get up and take a walk, or whether you cook your dinner or order in. You choose the details of your life. So here's the thing though, the narrative, the story, or the agenda that's being pushed is one that is a competing timeline, because they're trying to tell you how to do your story. They're trying to tell you to stay in your house and wait for a vaccine and yada, yada, yada. And I don't want to get into all that right now, but you know what I'm saying. They're trying to tell you how to live your life. And you get to decide how to choose the details. There's nobody that can tell you what agenda they want to push on you, or if they want to inject a needle in you, they want to put something in your sovereign being, in your body. That agenda, that storyline is a false storyline because it tells you you are still a child and we can think for you and we can tell you how the story goes. That is a false timeline that creates fear, that treats you as a child and not a freed thinker. You are the creator being of your life. You have the right and the God-given ability to create your own storyline with the freed thought. So be that adult in your life, be that change that you want to see, and take responsibility for all your actions. Don't expect the news channels and the news media and all the the people that are creating that storyline that they want to see, because they whoever wrote that storyline, the competing storyline, which is in direct opposition to you being the creator being that you are. So the one in opposition to that is telling you that they are more like your parents. This is the agenda. This is what you need to do. You need to be, you need to listen to us. You need the vaccine. You need to stay in your house. You need to wear masks. You need to close your business. You need to do this. You need to do that. But you notice how some places, like we'll take Pennsylvania, for example, where I live, notice how all the churches, everything had to shut down. The whole state was on a complete shutdown, and the businesses were starting to get a little upset but at first everybody went along with it. Flatten the curve. It's a pandemic. Of course, people did what they needed to do. And then you start getting to a point where the curve has been flattened and you're starting to see the numbers were wrong and numbers were fudged and all of this, and people start questioning things. It's like their livelihood was taken from them because they surrendered it, because they did what they thought they needed to do. Nothing wrong with that. We're not going to judge the past, except for the people that were trying to tell us what to do in order to put money in their own pockets. Okay? They're the ones that need to be judged. They are the criminals and they need to be held accountable, and they will. But you have people that are saying, like the governor saying, I never said churches had to shut down. They're backpedaling right now. They're using double play on words, saying that they never shut it down. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And they're going to have to pay for it. So this will be interesting to watch as it evolves. But the people that are still in fear because all they do is watch news and listen to the mainstream media, and they believe everything they're being told. They're acting like children. They're not using their freed thought. There is information out there. There's plenty of information out there to be a freed, thinking person, individual, creator being of your own life. And so if you hear enough people and you're saying, oh, anyone who's protesting is being selfish. No, they're not. You're like a child looking at an adult saying, you get to go out and I have to stay. How about this? Okay, so when you're a child, I remember when I was a kid, my parents would send us, we get to watch a TV show or something, and then we had to go to bed at a certain time. So at a certain time we go to bed, but then I remember Welcome Back, Kotter was coming on, and my parents didn't want us to watch that show because Arnold Horshack, is that his name? He would go, oh, and raise his hand in class, and my parents thought that was disrespectful, so they didn't want us watching that show. So as children, we were told to go to bed. But then why did they get to watch it and we didn't? Well, we were children. We had to listen to our parents, right? I mean, that's the rules. So here's the thing. If you're seeing people going out and protesting saying, we want to open our business, we don't want to wear masks anymore because the science proves that the masks don't help. They don't stop it. And, the size of it's like putting up a chain link fence and saying, I'm putting this up to stop a mosquito, or I want to stop mosquitoes, so I'm going to put up a chain link fence. So it doesn't make sense. And there's people that are buying into the narrative of, what the mainstream media is telling them. And they get people that are paid money, lots and lots of money, to go on TV as experts. They don't listen to other scientific information, and they say, we are basing it on scientific facts. But when their facts are proven wrong, and that information is out there, thank God for social media, because we can check and double check facts, and we can use that source to go to the source of a news article or publication from a scientific study, like say in India, and that information is suppressed and censored. And when we see something is censored, it's because it's going against what the narrative is that they want you to believe, the story they're trying to tell you. So when that information is censored and you're not allowed to read it, that's a big problem. So you've got adults who are freed thinkers that are out there protesting that kind of thing right now. And how dare you and how dare anybody say that they are selfish and don't care about lives? That is exactly what they care about. And that's the thing, that when you're still a child and you're still listening to mainstream news media as your source of information, you are showing exactly who you are, and you are showing exactly what you're made of right now, which is you are a child. And until you grow up and realize what the heck is going on, there's a hashtag that's called walk away. And until you actually realize what is going on in your world and what people are fighting for, they're fighting for you. They're fighting for the whole and we lived happily ever after ending. Because that's the point humanity is coming to. It's coming to a critical point where we will all get a chance to live happily ever after. And that is what we're fighting for. That is what the masses of people that are awake, that understand what's going on, and have love in their hearts and have nothing but compassion and care. And yes, you're going to get hecklers. You're going to get people. There's actually, believe it or not, there's people that are actually paid as paid opposition. So they will, get into protest groups and they will bring guns to them, and they'll get the media to circle around and take pictures of those people. So they'll make it look like a bunch of radicals or something. It's all optics. So, people that are watching my channel already know this, but there's some people that might be watching my channel or might stumble across this video that aren't aware of that. And I was going off on this because I really just wanted to tell you about storylines. And the thing is, the competing storyline is so invested in their version of the storyline because they don't want to give up their power. They don't want to be held accountable for their criminal activity. They've had a plan for a very long time and they're fully invested. They don't want to lose. This is a war. And there are digital soldiers and there are physical soldiers. There are things going on that around the world that you may not be aware of, but until you wake up and see what's really going on. And like I said, you guys that watch my channel, you already know this. But I know that there's people out there that just don't understand what competing storylines are. And how can you have one storyline and another storyline at the same time? You have a one true, authentic storyline that all soul beings need to be on. And then the competing narrative and storyline. And I didn't mean to put that one above the other because really we're in the upside down anyway, so it doesn't matter. But you have a competing narrative that's trying to stop the competing narrative. All right, so it could go like across your crown chakra. That's probably why I did it. So you have a competing narrative or a competing storyline that's like a false storyline that is trying to block light workers from accessing their true power, which comes in through the crown chakra. It connects you to your energetic, multidimensional being. And that, my dear friends, is the true storyline, is you reclaiming your power and discovering the multi-dimensions. You may see something on the news and they're playing a 5D, fifth dimensional, a 5D game of chess right now. So if you're playing chess and you're moving a piece over here, it could be a distraction move. If you've never played a game of strategy, then you don't understand this. But when you're playing a game, you use pawns as pawns. Like, go ahead, take the bait. Go ahead. That's what's happening. And we're so close. You guys, like, I feel like if you can't see what's coming, then just maybe sit back and wait for it. Just wait for it, because it's okay to wait for it. You've got so many different light beings and star seeds and angelics and higher dimensional beings, and there's just so many beings down here to help humanity rise up from this, because it really is like a shit show. Sorry for the French there, but it's not good. I hear a lawnmower coming up. It's going to start getting really loud. So I'm going to sign off with this, and I will be back again. I love you guys.